I was messing around with this earlier, and I thought, what if we motorized it? So, that's exactly what I intend to do. Here we have a large motor, here we have a small motor, and here we have a medium motor. These are all typical of what you'd find in a ceiling fan. This more than others. That is closer to a power tool, and this is closer to a bench grinder. This has more horsepower than those, although it's not perfectly listed, as you can see by the information down here. I have no idea what half of it does, but horsepower, you can see that it is not listed, but the RPMs seem to be doing just fine. This one only has a 20th of a horsepower, and it has, let me see here, it has 3,300. That is actually fairly decent. That's more than this, but this has more horsepower, I'm willing to bet. That has a high RPM, but not a lot of horsepower. This, on the other hand, is somewhere in between, with a horsepower of 1/3, as you can see down there. Excuse my father, he is raging. And then it has 10,075 RPMs. Sorry if my hands are shaky. But those are all of the motors that I have, and I'm either going to use this one or this one. This I might use if these don't work. But the primary one is going to be this guy here, as highest horsepower out of the bunch. And now on to the actual chassis of the vehicle. It will not be this exact dolly, as it is still being used as a dolly to move furniture. But we can get a pretty good estimation because it's fairly standard. Now, according to general physics and common sense, we're going to need suspension down here. Because if we don't have it, you're going to be riding and it's going to feel like this. Which isn't exactly fun for anyone, especially you. So, leaf spring here, down under there, got it all good. Now, front steering system, just like a go-kart. We will leave this as a place to hold the axle, and it's going to be a little different, as there's going to need to be a whole lot of things done. There's going to have to be a shaft. There's going to have to be a shaft here for the steering rod up to the wheel. And there's going to be the actual steering mechanism that pivots everything. And then you're going to have to figure out how to put on the suspension so that you don't go flying off. This is why engineering is difficult, because you have to figure out how to do 10 different things in this much space. Now, the motor is likely going to be mounted here on this portion of the frame, and then a drive shaft will run down and under to the wheel, the axle. Sorry about that. But on this is not the axle. The axle is inside this, so on the one that we are going to use, if it has something similar to this, there will need to be a cut made, then a cog placed there, a separate axle here for another cog, and then the gear to actually loop around, or for it to go up here, but that's not going to be very useful, because this is exactly where you sit. The battery will sit here between the frame, actually underneath the frame. The pedals will be down at the end there, and they're literally going to be, you push this down a little bit, and it pushes a button, motor's on. Great. Brakes. Well, those are a little more difficult because I need someone out there who's seeing this to tell me, should I try and go for disc brakes like you have on a car, or should I go for just standard shoe brakes that push up against to stop? Because I really don't want to have to try and do these things on my own, because I never know which one is actually going to work. So if you got any suggestions, put them in the comments. Like, subscribe for part 2 of construction of homemade go-kart, redneck style. Goodbye.